Good morning or good evening, depending on which part of the world you're in. My name is Sean, and this is my channel, The Guy Who Sews. And normally on a Saturday morning here, I am sewing something, but today we're going to do things a little bit differently since I'm not in my sewing space. And that is because I managed to contract COVID over the last week or so, which was so much fun. And I'm feeling a whole lot better. And since my sewing space is in a common area in the house, we figured it was best for me to stay out of it until I'm better. That way the other people in my house don't get COVID. But I'm so glad you're all here. Thank you so much for joining me. And I would love it if you would just let me know where you're watching from today. I'm going to be in the chat with you guys. As this is a premiere, it's pre-recorded, but we do have the beauty of having a live chat so we can all interact with each other as well. So what are we going to do today? Well, earlier this year, I went to the Mid Atlantic Quilt Show in Hampton, Virginia. It's about 20 minutes from my house, so it's a nice, easy, quick drive. And I had a lot of fun. It was a rush trip. I was only there for like 2.5 hours, because I also had a live schedule with Stephanie Stitches later that same day. Oh joy, I love doing things in a rush. But it was a lot of fun. I took a lot of photos, and I did share some of those in a video earlier in the year. And if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out afterwards. It was a lot of fun. It was basically like a quick overview of the quilt show and what I liked and what I wasn't so fond of. So a little bit different to today. Today we're going to take a little more in-depth view of a lot of the different quilts. There were so many pretty quilts that I wasn't able to share in that last video, and I thought today would be a really good day to do that. So what I'm going to do for each quilt that I'm going to share is I'm going to talk about it. Some of them had like a little story or that sort of thing next to it, and if that's available, I'm going to read that to you, tell you what I liked about it, what inspired me to take a photo of it, what drew me to it, etc. And then afterwards, I'm going to put a bigger photo, a more detailed photo, so that way you guys can see the detail of the quilting itself and the quilt top as well. So I hope you enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started with the first one. The first one is called Imagination, and it's made by a lady named Elizabeth. I can't read her last name, unfortunately, here in Chesapeake, Virginia. And this is a beautiful, stunning quilt. It kind of is the first one you see as you walk into the quilt show. It kind of really gets your attention as you walk in. And it was such a beautiful quilt. And the more you look into the detail, the more you see. And it looks like it was made out of primarily, if not all, Tula Pink fabrics. And I know a lot of you guys loved some Tula Pink. So really, really loved this quilt. I love the colors she used and just everything about it. So here's a bigger photo of this one. This next one, I can't read the writing because I guess the photo is a bit fuzzy, but I believe it was in like the COVID-19 section, which they had like some quilts inspired by that. And it looks like this person showed what they did during the lockdown. It looks like they read a lot of books, worked out, enjoyed some adult beverages, and also watched a lot of Netflix. This one is so bright and beautiful, and it has actually a scrappy quilt. It says here that it's a mystery how many different fabrics are in this quilt. I pulled fabric scraps from everywhere, even from other people's projects, and it's made by a lady named Anne Lockyer. Apparently she's a local lady because she's in the Tidewaters Mystery Guild, and I just love all the different colors. It looks like she's used a series of solids and ombres and that sort of thing there, and it's definitely one of the ones that definitely got my attention. One of the neat things about this quilt show, and I'm sure others do this as well, is that the guilds nearby had challenges for their members, and that this was a way to display those challenge quilts. And this one here is in the same challenge as the last one, and it's called What a Mystery. And this one is by a lady named Doris Whedon, and it's called Rescued Star. And she tells us that the center part, the star, was actually an Etsy shop find that she found, and she rescued that. And then she went ahead and put the white border around the outside. And then the second mystery for this is that she was wondering if it was going to be good enough for a ribbon in the state fair. And apparently she submitted it in and got a first place ribbon, I'm assuming last year. So this was a fun quilt, especially as it's a rescue quilt. This was another one from the What a Mystery from the Tidewater Quilters Guild, and I love this one. This one really caught my eye, and it's called Which Direction Should I Go? And I love that it has the pinwheels in the middle, and then it has the arrows pointing each way, and it's just, I love the different fabrics they used, and just the quilt overall is definitely one of my favorites. So you get another entry from the One Mystery from the Tidewaters Quilt Guild, and this one is called Diamonds Out of Darkness, and I love the blues and the purples and everything else that this lady used. And she said that apparently this was her first mystery quilt, and it's very similar to the mystery quilt that I've been doing, where she didn't know how the end product was going to be at the very end, but I think it turned out very stunningly beautiful, and I love the quilting that she did for this as well. The next ones is actually a series of probably 40 or 50 quilts that was all done as part of a Princess Diana thing, and they just looked absolutely stunning. Each quilt is beautiful, and I just love seeing each and every one, but I just didn't have the time to individually photograph each one, so I did one of each wall, and I just think the effect looks really, really stunning. So here's some still photos of those. This next one is called Nurses Call All the Shots, and I don't know if this was made by a nurse or made for a nurse, but I love it because, especially, nursing is in my family. My sister is a nurse, my mum was a nurse, and several of my aunts were nurses as well. And if you're a nurse, let me know in the chat. I thank each and every one of you guys because you do such a great job for us all. And I just love this quilt. It's just so fun. It has all these different sayings on there. And if you are a nurse or in a nursing family, you'll get each and every one of them. I believe this next one was made by one of the modern quilt guilds in the local area, and I love it. And this one is called Cat and Mouse. And the more I look at this quilt, the more different things I could see. I could see the strings that the cats would play with. You can actually see the mice hiding and the cats in the corners and that sort of thing there. It's just a lot of fun. All the bright colors, which shouldn't surprise anyone that watches my channel. And I just, yeah, this is definitely a fun one. I don't have much information on this one because I can't read the writing on the picture, but I just love this quilt. I'll always love a dark background with bright colors on my quilts, so this definitely falls into my aesthetic. And I just love the different colors that they used. It looks like it may be scrappy, although it may not be. And I just love the layout and everything else about this quilt, and I'm sure you guys will as well. This one is part of the Drunkard's Path Challenge, which was put on by the Annapolis Guild Quilt, which is in North Virginia or Maryland. I can't remember which. It's up there by Becca somewhere. Anyway, I love the colors on this. I love how they used a lot of the oranges and that sort of thing there. It almost reminds me of like the Rainbow Serpent in the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories in Australia. So it gives me that kind of feel as well. And it's a fun quilt. From far away, this one looks like just a fun, simple, colorful quilt, and it's called All My Favorite Colors, and it has my favorite color in there, rainbow. But as you walk up closer to it, you'll see so much detail in the quilting, and that is one of the things I love about this quilt here. So definitely take a look at the detail, the quilting that this person has put into it, because they put a lot of work into it. This one is called Lilac Sunset, and this lady that made this decided to modify the pattern, which was originally called Happiness 2.0 by the Colorful Quilts, and she decided instead of putting a star in the center, she drew and colored in the fabric, the mandala in the middle, and then she also hand drew and painted the hearts in the corners. The rest of it's put together by FPP, and I think it came out to be a really, really nice effect. I could be wrong here, but I believe this was a good example of what you call mixed techniques. It looks like it has both FPP for the stars or whatever you would like to call these. The buttons look like they're appliqued. At first I thought they were real buttons, but they're not. And then I also love the simplicity of the quilting on the white section and then the more complex designs around the borders as well. This is just a fun quilt. Unsurprisingly, it seemed like one of the main themes of some of these quilts was the pandemic, whether it was the lockdown itself or everything else. But this one gave me a little bit of a chuckle because it was one of the defining events of 2020 when we all had to go out and look to see if our stores had any toilet paper. And this quilt just shows you just the different stages of a toilet roll on a holder, and I just thought it was quite amusing now that that whole section of our life is behind us. This one is called Arrowhead, and it has a fun story behind it. The lady that made it decided to have a girls' trip at the oceanfront over a weekend, and she made this quilt while she was there with her friend. And instead of using batiks like she normally does, she said she went out of her comfort zone and used all these bright and bold Alison Glass fabrics, which, as you may know, is one of my favorites. And I'm just proud of her, even though I don't know her, that she was able to go out of her comfort zone and make this beautiful quilt. This one is called Fairest of 10,000, and I believe this is the best in show, and it just has so much detail, so much work, and the quilting is just exquisite, and I just think whoever made this did a fantastic job on this, and is quilting at such a level that will take me a very, very long time to get to, but I'm very, very proud of them. And this one is the second place in that same category, and I just love the quilting, first of all, that this person did, and then also the mix of colors they used. They went from blacks to grays, and also have these beautiful pops of green, pink, purple, and so forth. I just think it's a beautiful effect, and very, very well deserved the second place. I know for next year I'm really going to have to start taking notes and taking more pictures of the text that's next to these quilts. So that way, when I do something similar next year, I'll have a much easier time of putting this all together. I believe the yellow ribbon on this is the third place prize, and this is just a fun, I'm guessing it's applique. It is definitely Asian themed. I believe it's Japanese, although it could be Korean. I don't want to get that wrong, but I just love all the different effects that this quilt has. So I do apologize, I did mislead you a few minutes ago when I said that the other quilts with the blue ribbon was the best in show. That was not correct. It's actually this one here, and this one is absolutely stunning with the swans and the other birds, and just the amount of detail and the work that whoever made this put into it is just out of this world. I mean, the talent of some folks that can quilt and do this sort of stuff just blows my mind because I feel I'm more a piecer than a quilter, and I'm so proud of the work I do, but when you put it next to something like this, I still have a long, long way to go, and I'm okay with that. We're all at different levels, and that's perfectly okay. But yeah, it's to me, it's inspiring to see this sort of level, because it gives you an idea of what can be done. Not that I can do it right now, but it can be done by somebody. So I'm going to show you a closer view of this one, and just some of the quilting work because it's just magnificent. So this one won the blue ribbon for best sewing machine workmanship, and they just did a wonderful job. I mean, if you look at the different parts, the sky looks beautiful, the ocean, how they quilted it just makes everything pop and look just that much more special. And I just love all the different wildlife in here, the orcas, the dolphins, the sea crabs, the sea lions, that sort of thing there. It's just beautiful. This one here is called Fruit Loops, and I just love the different colors and the techniques that this person used to put it together. Everything's off at a different angle, and just the beautiful colors. And I just think it's a fun quilt, even though it's a little different from what you normally see. This one is fun. I don't have a lot of information on it, unfortunately, so I can't read the text in the photo that I took. But it almost looks to me like a garden with the different flowers and the different parts of the garden there. and then you'll see a black stripe along the towards the bottom. That is not part of the quilt. It's actually like a little crowd control thing. This is one of the beauties of going to a quilt show rather than the state fair like I talked about the other week, because these are actually down at ground level and you can actually inspect them and see the quilting a whole lot better than you can. But I guess people must have been misbehaving with this one, because this is one of the few where I actually saw one of those things in front of it. So this one here is what I put into the category of an I Spy quilt, and it's called an eye clue test. And the aim of this one is to name as many of the 12 characters in this quilt as you can in 2 minutes. Now, if you're watching the replay, it might be a good idea to hit the pause button and give yourself 2 minutes to see how many of the 12 you can get. If you're looking for all the answers, yeah, good luck, because I don't know that I know all 12 of them. But if you're here in the chat during the premiere, put down the ones that you definitely know and let me know, and we'll spend just a little bit of time playing with this to see which ones we know. I could probably name about half of them. Let's see, we'll just give you all just a little more time to have some fun with this here. Let's just go with, we'll go to top left, be number 1, go across, and then the second row will be number 5 through 8, and the third row 9 through 12. So let me know which ones you think are each one, and we'll see which ones you get right. Um, and again, if you're watching the replay, definitely hit the pause button, and give yourself that 2 minutes, and just let us know in the comments how many out of the 12 you get right. And we'll just take this on the honor system, since I don't really have the correct answers in front of me. And apparently you can get extra points if you find the stitch name in the octagons, but since my photography isn't that detailed, that's probably not going to really be the case here as well. So it looks like I can definitely tell there's Abraham Lincoln. I think the one next to it is going to be Nelson Mandela. The dude with the white hair, I have no clue, and I'm not sure who the lady is in spot number 4. I think number 5 is Gandhi. Number 6 is some British dude. Muhammad Ali would be number 7. Albert Einstein, number 8. No clue who number 9 is. Number 10, I believe, is Winston Churchill. And I have no clue who the other 2 are. So, what did I get? Like 6? Not bad. So this one is called Belle en Bleu, which, if my French is correct, means beautiful in blue. And it is a stunningly beautiful blue quilt. And if you like blue, I'm sure you're going to love this one here. My friend Stephanie Stitches will definitely love this. I don't know if she's watching this morning, as I know she's in Houston at one of the quilt festivals down there. But, if you're a blue fan, I think you're going to love this one here. It did win a blue ribbon, funnily enough. Not quite sure for what, because I can't read it in my text. I'm really going to have to do better on that next year. But we live and learn with these things. But I just love all the different techniques. I'm not sure if it's FPP or applique. I'm leaning towards applique for like a lot of the leaves and stuff, but I'm not sure. But let me know what you think in the chat. So as I was coming back to edit the video and looked at the I Spy quilt section, I discovered in between the octagons there's actually 6 more characters. So once you finish watching this video, come back, hit the pause button, and see if you can tell who those 6 characters are, and let us know in the comments how many of those you got right. This one looks neat because depending on how you look at it, it can either be bobbin spools of thread or the floss for your embroidery as well. So I think this is a neat little thing for both quilters and other types of crafters, and I love the different colors they use inside this quilt. This one is called Letters from Grandma, and is another blue ribbon winner for the section that was entered into. And unfortunately, I can't read the text quite well enough to tell you the story, but it is a beautiful quilt, and I love the designs and the quilting that this person used to put this together. Anytime I see a quilt that is Australian themed or anything else like that here in America, it just makes me really, really happy and smiles. And this one is called Journey to Oz, and it was based on this person's journey to Australia, I believe back in 2018 or 2019, and their visit to one of the wildlife parks in Australia, where they actually got to go and get up close and personal with a koala. It's a huge highlight for anyone that is foreign and gets to travel to Australia. I know it was a big thing for Amanda when she went down there, and I just love this quilt. It's applique, and the applique is just stunning. I mean, I believe my applique is good, but it is nowhere near the level of this person, and I just absolutely love what they've done, and it gives me something to aspire to in the future. So if you thought my attempt at French was pathetic, just wait to hear my Spanish. This one is called Azul y Rose. Probably butchering the language I usually do when it comes to Spanish. But it is a beautiful quilt. It has a lot of wonderful colors in it, and I do like the design that they put this together with. It's definitely something unusual and something different, and that is something I'm always drawn to when I go into a quilt show. Any of you guys that have been watching the channel for a while know I love, love, love bright colors. I love solids. So this one, obviously, I was drawn to. It looks to me as though it's like those paint strip chips you get from the store when you're trying to decide which color you want to paint your room. And I just think this is a fun design and something I would definitely do for myself sometime in the near future. So if you see something like this come out in the near future, you know where the inspiration came from. And you know what? I may actually do this because this would be a great scrappy project for me. To me, one of the most iconic things about an American childhood is the little red wagon, and this is just so beautifully shown in this quilt here. The design itself is beautiful, and the kids look very lifelike. And I don't know why, but they look kind of grumpy and sad. I don't know why. I mean, they've got a little red wagon to play with, but you know what? Maybe someone took their favorite toy away from them or something else like that. This is another one of the local quilt guild challenges. It's by the Peninsula Modern Quilt Guild, and I just love this one as well because it's another scrap buster as far as I can tell. Just a series of houses and trees, and I just think it looks great. I tend to draw myself towards a traditional pattern, but this is one of the modern quilts that I would happily do for myself sometime in the near future. This is another entry from the Peninsula Modern Quilt Guild, and I believe this is more in the art quilt category, and I could be very, very wrong on this, and forgive me if I am, but I believe this is designed to look more like the New York City skyline. I love the effect, I love the stars above it, and just all the different buildings, and it looks like is it the Empire State Building on the top right corner? Um, looks just absolutely fantastic. I grew up in a small country town of about 35,000 people, so I always enjoy seeing quilts that are themed on farming or being in the country. And this one is just fun. It has like the old style petrol station and an old farmhouse, and then like the farm barn and the silos. And the barns and the silos look very different here in the US than they do in Australia, but I do love the style that they do have here in the US. Honey is probably one of my favorite foods. I enjoy just about everything about honey, whether it is honey itself, or honeycomb, or honey flavored, whatever it is. And this is a fun little quilt. It looks like they have some applique in the bottom right hand corner with the hive. They have some bees that are kind of, they've done something where it's almost like three-dimensional on that. And then I love the scrappiness of each of the pieces inside the quilt, and together it just turns into a beautiful quilt and is absolutely stunning and caught my eye as soon as I saw it. Earlier I showed you guys one of the exhibitions or one of the sections they had for Princess Diana, And another one they had this year was for Elvis, and there's several quilts on display, and I took a photo of quite a few of them. And the first one here is the hound dog, and I just love the little hound dog in the street, and the quilting of the street itself is catching my eye, and the bricks and everything else. I mean, they just did a wonderful job with this one. And here's another hound dog, and it looks like this hound dog has got his little baggie and he's getting ready to run away. I don't know why he'd want to run away. Maybe his owner didn't feed him enough. Copper, Finley, Bandits, you get enough food, no matter what you tell my viewers. You know, hounds are definitely some of my favorite dogs. Dachshunds are my absolute favorite breed, and all three of our dogs are some sort of hound, a beagle hound or a dachshund. This is another of the Hound Dog series, and it's called Ain't Ever Caught a Rabbit Hound Dog. And it's fun because this poor Bassett's just sitting here all dejected, he's all sad, and there's about 15 rabbits sitting around him. I remember last year we went to Pittsburgh for the summer, and Finley saw all these rabbits in the front yard, and all she ever wanted to do was chase them. This is a couple more in the Elvis line. The one on the right is called Take My Hand, Precious Lord, and I'm assuming the one on the left is in the same series, but I'm not 100% sure. And here is two more in the Elvis series, and I'm not a huge wealth of knowledge when it comes to Elvis. I know the main songs and everything else, so let me know in the chat or the comments if these are actually songs of his or how this connects. The first one is Let's Have a Party on the left-hand side, which has the teddy bear and the dog and the balloons. And then the next one on the right-hand side is Lead Me Home, Teddy Bear. Again, if you know what references these are, definitely let me know in the comments or the chat. I would love to know. And another two in the Elvis series. The one on the left is called In the Garden, and it has a beautiful series of different flowers. I love the colors they used here. And then the one on the right hand side is called I Got Stung, and I love how they used hexagons, more like a bee wax, beehive type thing. Honeycomb, I think it's what they technically call it. I'm not a biologist. As part of the quilting as well, which just gave it an extra special effect. So in my video that I talked about the review earlier this year, I said that I wasn't as fond of the quilts as I was the previous time I went to the show. And having looked back on it today when I put this video together, I'd like to revise that a little bit because I think the true way to get everything out of a quilt show is not to rush through it like I did, but to actually take your time and read about the quilts and see the techniques that people put together and everything else. And I think you'll get a truer appreciation for the whole show as a whole. And I have a much higher respect for it now than I did 6 months ago when I did that video. So I think the next time I go to a quilt show, I'm going to make sure to spend more time to just go through it and just soak everything in and not try and rush it. And I think that'll make a huge difference. Well, that is all the photos I have from the Mid Atlantic Quilt Show from this year. I hope you enjoyed today's premiere. It was a little different to what we normally do, and it's a bit shorter. But, you know, I had a lot of fun preparing this and putting this together for you, and I hope it's well received. And let me know in the chat and the comments what you thought of this, and if you would like to see something like this again, because I do have photos and so forth from previous state fairs and the 2019 Mid Atlantic Quilt Show, and if it's something you're interested in, I would happily make another video for you guys. So let me know what you thought of this today, and if you like today's video, definitely like and let your friends know about it, and we'll see you all in the next video. Now, as for my podcast tomorrow morning, because I haven't sewn anything, I've been in isolation in my own little room for the last 6 or 7 days. I'm going to push that back at least a couple of days so there won't be a podcast tomorrow morning. I do hope to have another video out, probably Clue 9 of the So Sweet Puzzle Mystery Quilt by Cotton Cuts, because I put that all together right before I went into isolation. I may put that out tomorrow morning, but if you are looking for my podcast tomorrow morning, unfortunately there won't be that one there because I really have nothing to show because I haven't done any sewing in a while, which makes me really sad. I really love doing my sewing and I miss it, and I hope to get back to it really, really soon. But thank you, thank you, thank you all for joining me this morning. It was a lot of fun. If you're watching the replay, please leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this. And we will see you all next time. Have a great day and happy sewing. Bye.